Hello, I am Dr. Arpita. I will be teaching you about diseases of blood vessels. What do we see in this picture? Yes, we see a man who is having chest pain. And the chest pain appears to be of a very constricting type, because of which he is holding his hand tight towards his chest. So what could be the cause of this chest pain? Yes, probably this chest pain is due to myocardial infarction, or what we call in our layman's term as heart attack. Now, what is the common cause of heart attacks or myocardial infarction? The commonest cause of myocardial infarction is atherosclerosis, that is coronary atherosclerosis. So learning objectives for today's session are: define arteriosclerosis, atherosclerosis, etiology of atherosclerosis including risk factors, pathogenesis of atherosclerosis, morphology, and complications of atherosclerosis. Before we study about atherosclerosis, let us have a recap of normal structure of arteries. Now, arteries are of three types: large elastic arteries, medium-sized muscular arteries, and smallest arterioles. And looking at the histology, arteries have three layers: the tunica intima, which is made up of endothelium and subendothelial layer; tunica media, which is mainly comprised of smooth muscles with fibers of elastin; and tunica adventitia, comprising of connective tissue and arterioles. Now, arteriosclerosis. This is a general term which is used to include all conditions with thickening and hardening of the arterial wall and loss of elasticity. So, it is a non-specific general term which indicates that a vessel has thickened and hardened and has lost its elasticity. Types of arteriosclerosis. There are mainly three types of arteriosclerosis. First, and the most important and the most frequent, is atherosclerosis, which is a disease of intima. Another is arteriolosclerosis. Now pay attention to the extra olo. So it is arteriolosclerosis, which affects the small arterioles and arteries, and this is mainly because of diabetes and hypertension, which we will see in their respective classes. The third type is the Monckeberg's medial calcific sclerosis. Now, this is a disease of unknown etiology which is seen generally in senile people. It mainly affects the vessels of upper limb, the radial artery, and the ulnar artery, vessels of pelvis such as uterine arteries, vessels of head and neck also. Now, this disease, as you can see in this photograph, is characterized by deposition or calcification of media of the vessels. Intima here is seen to be unaffected, and basophilic calcification or blue colored calcification is seen in the media. The most important thing is that even after this arteriosclerosis, lumen usually remains patent, and therefore this disease is not considered to be clinically significant. So this is a benign condition as opposed to atherosclerosis, which is a disease of intima. It compromises the arterial lumen and thus is a more dangerous condition. So let us see what is atherosclerosis. It is a type of arteriosclerosis which mainly affects the intima of large, elastic and medium-sized muscular arteries and is characterized by formation of fibrofatty plaques or atheromas. The commonly affected vessels are aorta, coronary, cerebral and iliac arterial systems. Now, where does the word atherosclerosis come from? It is derived from a Greek word where athero means porridge like semi-liquid material and sclerosis means scarring. So atherosclerosis is defined as arteriosclerosis characterized by formation of atheromas, which are cholesterol-laden deposits in the intima of vessels, and these atheromas protrude into and obstruct the vascular lumen and at the same time compress and weaken the underlying media. Epidemiology of the disease. It is a worldwide disease, especially affecting the economically developed nations. So incidence is high in US, Europe, but now the incidence has also increased and is increasing in developing countries. As we all know, this is due to adoption of Western lifestyle and also due to decrease in mortality due to infectious disease in these countries. The prevalence and severity of the disease depends upon the number of risk factors because there are a number of risk factors involved in predisposing of this atherosclerosis. Now, these risk factors have a roughly multiplicative effect. Thus, 2 risk factors increase fourfold and 3 risk factors increase the risk by a factor of 7. Risk factors are classified into major risk factors and minor risk factors. Major risk factors are again subclassified into constitutional risk factors, which are non-modifiable risk factors, and acquired risk factors, which are modifiable risk factors. Constitutional risk factors are age, sex, genetics, and family history. And acquired risk factors are hyperlipidemia, hypertension, diabetes mellitus, and cigarette smoking. First, the major risk factors which are non-modifiable or less controllable. So first is age. Age has a dominant influence as a risk factor. Generally, atherosclerosis is seen in between ages of 40 to 60 years and incidence of MI increases with age by 5-folds. Sex, the incidence is more in males than in females before 55 years of age, but by age 60, 70, the frequency becomes equal in male and female. The premenopausal women have less tendency to develop atherosclerosis because of the protective influence due to estrogen. However, though I'm saying this, but hormone replacement therapy has not shown to have any role in prevention of atherosclerosis. Genetics, yes, family history is very important, which includes Mendelian disorders like familial hypercholesterolemia and polygenic disorders like hypertension and diabetes. The modifiable risk factors. So major risk factors which are modifiable or which are potentially controllable. Hyperlipidemia is the major risk factor. Hyperlipidemia, or more specifically hypercholesterolemia, which is increase in serum cholesterol. Higher the level of cholesterol, higher the risk of ischemic heart disease. If we see the major components of cholesterol, the most important one is the LDL cholesterol or low density lipoprotein cholesterol, which has a maximum role in atherosclerosis. The higher levels are associated with increased risk of atherosclerosis. That is why it is called as the bad cholesterol. HDL cholesterol is the good cholesterol or the protective cholesterol, and higher levels are associated with less risk. Then the VLDL triglycerides, they have a less marked role in atherosclerosis. Hypertension, both diastolic and systolic blood pressure is important. Hypertension is associated with risk of IHD by 5 times. Diabetes mellitus induces hypercholesterolemia. It doubles the risk of ischemic heart disease, cerebrovascular accident, and 100 times risk of gangrene of foot is increased. Smoking. Smoking is the most important factor because it is avoidable risk factor. It increases the risk by 3 to 5 times, but cessation of smoking decreases the risk. Thus, it becomes an important avoidable risk factor. As many as 20% of all events occur in absence of the overt or major risk factor. So here comes the importance of minor risk factors, which are listed below. They are inflammation. We'll see the role of inflammation in later slides. C-reactive protein, which is a marker of inflammation. Obesity, physical inactivity, stress, type A personality, postmenopausal estrogen deficiency, high cholesterol intake, alcohol, lipoprotein A. Lipoprotein A is an altered form of LDL, and it is associated with coronary risk independent of total cholesterol. So it is an independent risk factor. Infections have been supposed to play a role, that is CMV and chlamydia pneumonia. Oral contraceptives, metabolic syndrome, which is characterized by central obesity, insulin resistance, increase in triglyceride, lowered HDL, and increased blood pressure. Environmental influence and other factors such as high homocystinuria. Hyperhomocystinuria is a rare autosomal recessive disorder which has a predisposition to premature and severe atherosclerosis. Coming to pathogenesis of atherosclerosis, there are many theories which have been proposed: response to injury theory, monoclonal hypothesis, encrustation hypothesis, and so on. But response to injury is the most accepted and currently used hypothesis or theory. What is this response to injury? According to this hypothesis, atherosclerosis is considered to be a chronic inflammatory response of the arterial wall which is initiated by injury to endothelium. So initiation is due to injury to endothelium, and then the lesion progresses and involves the role of monocytes, role of lipids, that is lipoproteins, proliferation and role of smooth muscle cells, and other normal cellular components of the arterial wall. So in next few slides, we will see individually what is the role of injury to endothelium, role of monocytes, role of lipoproteins, and role of smooth muscle cells. Now, if we look at the role of endothelial injury, the initiation is due to injury to endothelium. And what causes this endothelial injury? There are many causes. These causes may be related to hemodynamic stress or hemodynamic disturbance due to hypertension, toxins from smoking, hemodynamic factors, viruses, other toxins, immune reactions, homocysteine, and so on. And the other factor which could cause endothelial injury is the high lipid levels or the dyslipidemia, the hyperlipidemia that we see. So here in this picture, we can see this is the vessel wall, this is the endothelium, this here in white is the intima, this is the media with smooth muscle cells, and this is the adventitia. So in this picture, the endothelium is still intact, and here are listed the causes, potential culprits of endothelial injury. Now here endothelial injury has occurred, and we can see that there is a change in vascular permeability. The monocytes, the lipids, they are all penetrating through the endothelium into the intima. We know the disease will occur in the intima. So what are the effects of endothelial injury? What we see is leukocyte, especially monocyte and few lymphocytes, adhere to the endothelium and move inside. There is increased vascular permeability. There is movement of lipoproteins or lipids from the lumen into the intima. Platelet aggregation and thrombus formation occurs whenever there is injury to the intima. What is the role of hyperlipidemia? So after seeing the role of endothelial injury, we can say whenever there is injury, lipid accumulates in the intima. When the lipid enters into the intima, it is oxidized. The LDL is oxidized by the action of oxygen-free radicals which are produced by monocytes or endothelium. And this oxidized LDL, when it is taken up by these macrophages, they engulf this lipid and become foam cells. Now, generally, blood monocytes do not possess any receptors for normal LDL. But once the LDL gets oxidized, this oxidized LDL is taken up by the scavenger receptors on the monocytes and formation of foam cells occurs. Now, lipid accumulation occurs intracellularly, but there is some lipid accumulation extracellularly also, which forms the core of atheromas. The oxidized LDL which is formed is cytotoxic to endothelial cells and it also activates the macrophages. Once the macrophages are activated, they produce cytokines which accumulate more and more monocytes. And these activated macrophages also produce growth factors which stimulate the recruitment of smooth muscles, proliferation of smooth muscles, and formation of extracellular matrix. Role of monocytes, we have already seen monocytes migrate from the circulation into the luma, into the intima. They take up the oxidized LDL and are converted into foam cells. Here we can see this is a monocyte in the blood. Whenever there is injury, this monocyte enters into the intima. At the same time, lipids have entered. They have been oxidized and become modified LDL. This modified LDL is taken up by the scavenger receptors on macrophages. These macrophages are converted into foam cells. So this is a macrophage with lipid droplets. The yellow color that we see are fat droplets or the LDL droplets in the foam cells. So this is formation of fatty streak. We can see here in the intima, foam cells, macrophages laden with lipids. Few smooth muscle cells are also starting to come into the intima from the media. Another photo showing the presence of foam cells, formation of fatty streak in these pictures which are taken from textbook of Robbins. Role of smooth muscle cells. Now, whenever the formation of atheroma is occurring, Smooth muscle cells which are present in media normally also migrate towards the intima under the influence of the growth factors, that is PDGF, FGF, TGF alpha, which are released by platelets and macrophages. They migrate to the media, they proliferate, and there is also deposition of extracellular matrix or collagen fibers in the intima by the smooth muscle cells. Some of these smooth muscle cells may also engulf lipid and become foam cells. You can see here smooth muscle cells are migrating from the media into the intima, the yellow colored lipid with collagen fibers. So this is progression of fibrofatty plaque formation. So here we can see the formation of atheroma with central core of lipid, yellow colored. This is extracellular lipid with cholesterol crystals surrounded by foam cells, macrophages, smooth muscles, and few collagen fibers. We talked about the role of inflammation. Now, chronic inflammation contributes to initiation and progression of atherosclerotic lesions. Inflammation is triggered due to collection of cholesterol crystals and fat in macrophages and other cells, which leads to production of cytokine interleukin-1. This recruits lymphocytes, monocytes. The activated monocytes, they produce oxygen reactive species which cause oxidized LDL formation. The activated lymphocytes produce interferon and growth factors. As a marker of inflammation, we see raised levels of CRP or C-reactive protein, which has emerged as one of the simplest to measure and most sensitive marker of inflammation. And it is thus important in overall risk stratification of ischemic heart disease. It is an acute phase reactant which is synthesized by the liver. So we can see in this picture, just revise the pathogenesis. Endothelium injury leads to entry of plasma LDL into the intima, gets oxidized to form modified or oxidized LDL. Here macrophages are also entering in, have scavenger receptors taken up by the take up the oxidized LDL, become foam cells, free lipid, smooth muscles coming from media into intima, laying down collagen also. Again, this is another picture from Robbins showing the pathogenesis. You can see formation of atheroma in the intima. The atheroma, remember, atheroma is formed in the intima. Now let us see what are the morphologic or pathologic changes which are seen in atherosclerosis. There are mainly two types of lesions. One is the fatty streaks and the other is the full-fledged atheromatous or atheromas. Grossly, if we see these lesions, fatty streaks are initial lesions. They are very harmless, but they are precursor lesions of atherosclerosis and they virtually appear in many adolescent children. They are common in aorta and major arteries. If we see grossly, they are seen near these ostia or branching vessels. They are seen as small, flat, or you can see slightly elevated yellowish lesions seen as multiple dots or elongated, streak-like areas. So these fatty streak, microscopic, if we see, they are seen as aggregation or accumulation of foamy cells or foamy macrophages in the intima. Remember, fatty streaks do not cause any flow disturbances, so they are basically clinically not significant. Here again in this you can see foamy macrophages. The full-fledged lesion that we see is the atheromatous plaque, also called as fibrous plaque, atheroma, fibrofatty plaque. These terms can be interchangeably used. The site of atheroma formation is mainly in the aorta and especially in the abdominal part of aorta. That is the commonly affected site by atherosclerosis. The other arteries are coronary, popliteal, internal carotid, circle of Willis vessels, iliac and femoral. Grossly, if we see, we can have a look at these pictures. So this is grossly how lesions of atheroma look like. They are plaques. You can see they may be whitish or yellowish, maybe slightly raised, some few millimeters or few centimeters in size on the surface. Sometimes you can, this picture is of a mild atherosclerosis. Now this is more severe atherosclerosis where you can see diffuse lesions, and sometimes you can also see superimposed thrombus formation. Microscopically, if we see, atherosclerosis is seen as there are two areas. One is the fibrous cap and the other is the necrotic center. Even on grossly, you can see this fibrous cap as a firm white fibrous cap, and the central core you will see as composed of yellowish or soft porridge-like material, which has given it the name atheroma. Microscopically, we can see the fibrous cap is made up of the cells, that is the smooth muscle cells, the macrophages, the foam cells, lymphocytes, collagen, elastin and other ECM. You can also see small vessels which are a part of neovascularization. And the necrotic center is composed of extracellular lipid, these cholesterol crystals, cell debris, foam cells, and so on. This is another picture showing central core, necrotic lipid core, and fibrous cap. Here we can see aggregation of foamy histiocytes or foamy macrophages, and here you can see a crystal of cholesterol, which is seen as an empty crystalloid substance because the cholesterol gets dissolved or washed off whenever there is tissue processing. The other complications are ulceration, rupture and erosion which may occur, which can be due to rupture of the fibrous cap. Thrombosis may occur which may completely occlude the lumen and then lead to formation of microemboli and embolism. Hemorrhage may occur due to rupture of either fibrous cap or due to the thin-walled vessels which are formed due to neovascularization. Aneurysm formation occurs because due to atheroma formation, it compresses the media becomes weak, the wall becomes weak, leading to formation of dilatation of the wall, that is aneurysm formation. So this we have seen calcification in atheroma. This is hemorrhage in plaque. So these are the pictures of complications of atherosclerosis. Now, atherosclerosis has got many major clinical consequences which are seen in the aorta as aneurysm, thrombus and emboli to other organs. In the heart, we can see myocardial infarction due to coronary atherosclerosis, ischemic heart disease. Brain vessels show chronic ischemic brain damage, cerebral infarction. In small intestine, due to atherosclerosis of mesenteric vessels, leads to ischemic bowel disease, infarction. In lower extremities, it leads to intermittent claudication and gangrene. So these consequences, they manifest as clinical diseases in the patient. So one way in which we can avoid atherosclerosis is by prevention, which would include exercising, eating healthy, quitting the bad habits such as smoking and many other which are risk factors involved in the process of atherosclerosis. So that is about atherosclerosis. Thank you and have a good day.